Whispers of the forest, a deepening silence. The forest did not simply exist, it was a breathing entity, a colossal, living cathedral built of wood and shadow. Underneath the vast, interwoven ceiling, where a canopy of emerald bright held court against the sky, a perpetual dusk reigned. The light, the sun's great gift to the world, had to fight for every inch of penetration. It didn't stream or pour, it wept, filtering through a million leaves and branches until it arrived on the forest floor, a series of muted, golden tears. The sunbeams filter, soft and pale, landing with the gentle resignation of a memory, illuminating patches of earth in fleeting, ethereal spotlights. It was in these soft, pale landings of light that the details of the understory were revealed. The base of ancient, moss-covered oaks stood like the knees of sleeping giants, their bark scored and ridged by centuries of wind and weather. Here, the moss didn't just grow, it flourished, a deep, velvety blanket in shades of jade and olive. They touched the moss in fading light, a subtle caress that seemed to stir the very fibers of the plant life. The scent rising from the ground was primal and intoxicating. It was the air is cool, a deep perfume, an olfactory symphony composed of pine and damp and earth's dark sleep. The aroma was thick, almost chewable, carrying the sharp, clean bite of resin from the towering evergreens, mellowed by the cloying sweetness of decaying leaves and the rich, loamy essence of soil that had lain undisturbed for a millennium. This scent was the forest's breath, a constant reminder of the cycles of life and death that played out daily on its silent stage. This sacred space had the power of transmutation. It was a place for dispelling shadows, chasing gloom, not with force, but with the sheer density of its quiet permanence. The silence here was not an absence of sound, it was an overlay, a deep, resonant hush that absorbed the trivial noises of the outside world. Yet, within this great silence, 1,000 tiny lives were constantly in motion. It was where timid, little creatures creep, a world of voles and shrews, beetles and spiders, their existence unfolding in miniature dramas beneath the fallen logs and hidden roots. Their movements were the minute, almost imperceptible shifts in the great forest tapestry. Higher up, the forest communicated through its own subtle language. A gentle breeze begins to sigh, not a blast, but a long, drawn-out exhalation that moved the tops of the trees. It was the whisper of the world speaking to itself, a sound that threaded through needles thin and branches strong. This sighing created a low, constant murmur, a sort of white noise that was inherently soothing. It was a lullaby beneath the sky, an ageless, comforting hum that promised stability and continuity. The collective voice of the trees, bending and swaying under the lightest touch of air, proved that the forest sings its quiet song, a melody without notes, felt more in the chest than heard with the ear. The forest floor sloped gently down, leading the way to a core element of the ecosystem. Below the roots and the underbrush, the creek below begins to flow, an artery of clear, cold water cutting through the dark earth. It was a glassy ribbon, clear and swift, reflecting the slivers of sky that managed to peer through the canopy, turning the moving water into a shimmering, fragmented mirror. The sound of the creek was the most assertive sound in the forest, a constant, liquid chatter that contrasted with the deep silence above. Where stones are smooth and shadows grow, the water had polished the riverbed over countless seasons, rounding the rocks into perfect, water-worn shapes. This flow was the very essence of renewal, a simple, pure and cleansing gift, perpetually moving, taking, and giving back to the earth. As the sun began its slow, inevitable arc toward the horizon, the air thickened with a different kind of anticipation. The light, which had struggled all day, now began its genuine withdrawal. It was the moment of transition, the delicate hinge between day and night. It was then that the forest's shy royalty made an appearance. The deer steps out with watchful grace, emerging from the densest tangle of ferns and low-hanging branches. Its movement was fluid, effortless, a masterclass in silent locomotion. Its velvet coat, a muted brown, was the perfect camouflage against the shadowed trees and decaying leaf litter, making it seem less like an animal and more like a moving piece of the forest itself. It lowered its delicate head to graze, instinctively seeking out its secluded, private domain. It finds its secret feeding place, a patch of clover or young sprouts known only to itself, an action carried out with an absolute trust in the protection of the woods, before the sun is sinking down. With the definite descent of the light came the rise of the nocturnal world. The shift in sound and energy was palpable. A different inhabitant stirred. The owl awakens from its rest, deep within the hollow of an ancient beech. Its body, still heavy with the languor of the day, began to shake itself into readiness. Its yellow eyes begin to gleam, twin orbs of intense, concentrated light in the deepening gloom, observing the forest with a terrifying, omniscient stillness. It did not hurry. It knew the night was its domain. After a final, careful preening of its silent feathers, it leaves the shelter of its nest, a shadow detaching itself from a shadow. It was not waking up so much as waking into its true element, emerging from a daylight dream into the sharpness of its hunter's reality. The forest, in its entirety, was more than the sum of its parts, more than trees, water, and creatures. The woods hold secrets, old and deep, knowledge measured not in human years, but in geological epochs. It was a tapestry of life untold, its stories written in the rings of the trees, the fossils buried in the creek bed, and the silent, patient wars waged between root and stone. It was a place where scale shifted and human concerns were diminished to insignificance. Here, away from the frantic, demanding world of human enterprise, while human burdens softly sleep, a profound sense of peace could be attained. It was a peace that felt cold and solid, a tangible refuge offered by the unyielding order of nature. To stand here, surrounded by the towering, silent sentinels, was to find solace, to be fully contained within the comfort of the cold wisdom that only the ancient forest could provide.